Hello, welcome to step 9. As I hinted at in the end of step 8, I kind of overshot on the second half of step 8 because I was excited about, or maybe the word is better used as distraught, over having to change the hinge system on the driver's hatch because the vehicle that I want to build has the M2A2 ODS improvement of the driver's hatch system. The actual hatch itself is still the same, but the hinge system in the back of it got completely changed, and some other parts. So starting with the Tamiya piece that comes in the ODS kit, here's the MENG part, and that shows how it should look right there. And then I don't have the Tamiya piece, but the Tamiya piece has a little bulge on this side here for it's a fan that helps circulate air in the passenger part of the vehicle, and that has been shortened down in the ODS, as well as this bar over here. And I'm not exactly sure why this bar is here and what purpose it serves. Haven't been able to easily find that, so as of right now, it's a mystery. And what I did was I went in and, looking at a lot of pictures from the hatch system that I found online for the ODS, I made this a little bit better than any of the kits. So just to point it out real fast, if I can do that, I added, they have 3 depressions there, but those should be bolt heads that were recessed. I added those in. In the earlier parts of this, before they changed over, they had these venting system that is 2 rows of straight up and down. Eventually that got changed to be like how MENG gives you the photo etch piece for, which is more of a diamond pattern all the way across. I added this specifically to state what this is. What ended up happening is that they had a latch system set up so that the driver's hatch can be lifted up, I believe it's 30 degrees, and then this can be locked in so they can drive around and not have the hatch bouncing around or fall on them or anything like that. I'm not sure if there should be anything else, but these are the basic parts that I found. And again, this is set up specifically to call attention to what it is. I haven't seen any photos. I wasn't really looking too hard for it, but I haven't seen any photos with something like this sitting up, so it may actually not be up like that. Another part that I added was the bumper stop here. Seems a little non-existent in the other kits. For example, on the Orochi part, there's nothing there. And I added, and it can be seen here on the MENG kit, but I added the little stop. Basically, this is the block that's on the hinge part that goes up against the stopper there as well. That's also part of holding it down. I added the bolt downs on the inside of this and changed the hinge system. I also added all the necessary bolts for holding this part of the hinge system down. And very tiny to see, but there are a series of 4 holes and pegs, and I added those and the square backings for the holes and bolts for the front of this extension that comes out. And otherwise, this is more accurate, so I mean, that's good. I honestly, I wouldn't say that this is something that where you have to go in and scrape off the hinges on the MENG kit and replace everything. You could if you really wanted, but it's not really that bad. If you can see from here, it's not 100% accurate because they have these hinges here which are actually on the hull, and there on the hinge side they have the retaining mount, and this is the mount for the bolt or the post, the bar, whatever you want to call it, on the other piece. So that's all been added. One key point is all the photos. This actually right here, there's a little bit of an overhang, so this would have to be kind of cut out of the MENG part, and I know this is done because of the injection molding. So this bar, or this plate that's on here, actually extends with a little bit of a gap underneath it. So when that gets put on here, there should be a little bit of a gap underneath it. Anyways, this is what I worked on. Again, the marvels of 3D printing. Now I've got these parts, so if I ever do another ODS, an earlier one, I have this. All I have to do is change the venting on the side of this to the diamond shape, and then I've got it for late ODS and for the M2A3 version. But that said, let's get to it. I've been actually looking forward to cutting this hinge off and seeing how this part fits. So I'm going to go in and cut this as flush as I can to start with, because in my opinion, it's easier to remove material slowly and then remove a little bit more rather than adding in material. So I'm just going along and trying to go with the contour. I'm not going to do a ton of reshaping, and I didn't really feel like going in and 3D making this hatch. I have to admit that curves are hard. I'm not quite at that level yet, but I've at least got this done, which I'm happy with. So doing all this, as you can see there, I've got a good start on it. There's some profile still in there. Right in here, the Tamiya part has some profile of that. So I'm just trying to sand this all roughly to get that part out, get that contouring out. And it is going to take a little bit of a beating on the edges of those periscope guards. I can go in with a knife, and if I'm confident, because this is a little bit more precise, I will sit and grind down. Now you could use a Dremel tool to do this if you want. I mean, if that's what you're comfortable with. It just depends on what you want to work with yourself. I'm just giving you an idea of how I'm doing it, in case you're not exactly sure how to become comfortable. Maybe it's your first time doing this. Okay. And again, I'm going to go over on this side and do that. Now, the one thing that I need to do, just because of the nature of how this was made, is make sure that the back of this is pretty much flush with the upper hull here, and it's pretty close. But I need to do that because this was set up specifically for it to be flush, otherwise it's going to have issues. So I know that that's probably inaccurate, but that's how it was set up. And right now, at this point, I'm not that worried about it. I just want it to be done and usable. If I go with hyper accurate, I may as well just, go with the adage of my Russian compatriots, you know who you are, and just say, that Tamiya kit, it's trash. Just throw it in the garbage and then scratch build a new one that's more accurate. I'm not going there. Sorry, guys. I can live with some inaccuracy and still be happy. Doesn't make me a world leader in tank model accuracy per se, but it makes me happy and it gets stuff out quicker. Okay, so how am I going to know when I've got to the point of being done? And I'll just have to keep testing it. But right now, sanded that down a bit. Put it on there. I'm getting there. I think I'm going to switch over to my big sponge sander at this point, just to make sure that I'm getting stuff. I'm going to use my 60 grit side. That flat file that I've got is nice, but unfortunately I can never always tell if I'm actually doing anything other than just running that across the plastic and occasionally doing stuff. So I want to get this done in a reasonable amount of time. So using that more rough, oh yeah, that's getting there. Now, I don't think I have to be absolutely perfect, but I do want to remove material. And again, I'm doing this in case some of you haven't done this before, or maybe, maybe you're a little nervous. Maybe you did try and do this before with something and you screwed it up, or just don't have the confidence, and okay, you do it with me. Just do it a little bit at a time, check everything out, a little bit at a time, check everything out. Now I'm going to test with this on there, how bad. And what I'm looking for is a gap underneath these forward parts. Is that good enough? Do I need something more? Well, I need something more. So what I should do is, just for the hinge, cut a little bit along this edge, just right in here. About a centimeter, I'd say about, sorry, let me rephrase that. I'd say about maybe half a millimeter in and about a millimeter wide all the way down here. Should be lowered a little bit more than the rest of the model, or the rest of the hinge. And that would match kind of where I'm working with. As in the prototype. But doing those kinds of things easily is difficult. Now, I'm going to make a little shout out here to my buddy Steve, who is also my singular Patreon. Thank you, Steve. And I thought I'd say, he has stated that now that we have 3D printing technology, it's not the death of the hobby by any stretch. And it means that you really have to start polishing up your model building skills, because you can make some cool parts and you can make some cool kits, but you have to be able to put them together and make them look good. And that doesn't always work. If you make something perfect on the CAD file, yay for you, but then you also have to print it, and printing is not 100% precise. It's close, it's good enough. I mean, I'm really happy with what I'm getting out of it, but what I'd say is, yeah, you gotta add a little extra to it. So that's about how I want this to look right there. I need to take a little bit out of here for that little rounded piece that you may have seen on the end of the hinge. Kind of sticks out. And all I'm doing is just kind of getting the general shape out with the tip and the blade. I mean, if it's easy enough, you could just wipe this whole thing left to right. I don't think it's going to show. I'm just finding that filing is a little bit slow and not as good with the tools I have. Maybe you got something better. I'm not saying don't try that. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. And this should go right up against the edge of the hatch and be glued on pretty much just like that. Now I'm going to put this on here, check it all out, and it's pretty doggone close. I mean, you can see that there's still a little bit of a gap, and honestly, I forgot to clean the bottom off. All my attachment points from when I printed it are still highly visible. Yes, I'm shaking everything doing this, the whole table and camera. Sorry about that. Okay, and the second thing is remember that has a lip, so I need to go this way to do it, not the other way. So I'm just gonna wear down the edge of that piece that I put on in the first place. It took time to do that. Files are much better for this than the knife, because I've noticed with 3D printed resin that if you just go and try and clip them off or pick them off, they tend to leave a little bit of a gap or a gouge. Maybe it wouldn't matter on the bottom of this because this is all going to get glued on, but part of it might be seen, and everybody wants to have a nice looking thing, a nice looking kit. So now that I've done that, how does that fit? Oh, that's almost perfect. There'll be a little bit of glue, but other than that, it's fine. And now the next part, there is that little hole right back behind that plate. Well, I don't want that. Now, as I move this, there's 2 holes there, locator holes from other parts. I'm gonna have to fill at least one of them in. I'm gonna fill both of them in. And then once they're filled in, I will probably have to putty those parts. Well, I don't believe it. I don't actually have little pieces to throw in there. Thought I had some scrap styrene laying around on my workbench here, but oh wait, maybe I do. Not as organized for this as I try to be, but I'm kind of tired, like you, of waiting for me to put these videos out when everything is perfect. So if you're willing to bear with me, I'm willing to keep working on this. So, not having found what I want, I've got my small hole punch and some small plastic. Knock a couple of little circles out, like so. Pull those out. What I'm going to do real quick is, here are the holes, and I know that it's these interior holes, the ones more towards the inside. Throw some quick glue, like so. Now maybe one big circle would have worked, maybe both of them, but I want to just make sure that this is working right. And this is a lot of extra work for getting this kit to be what I want it to be, but this is, I guess, where I want to spend my time. So, and again, I'm going to pull out real quick my auto body putty from my buddy Cal. Thank you again, Cal, appreciate it. And just dabble that in. And I'm just making sure I work it in so it actually fills the hole instead of leaving a little air gap in there. So there's that. And that should be fairly simple to clean off once it's done. So what I'm going to do is leave this at this point here. So the next video will basically show me putting this hatch in. At that point in time, I'm going to glue this on. And then I'm going to glue this on, and we will have the driver's hatch with the new and highly improved piece right here for the ODS. I'm not, by the way, with this kit, I'm not going to do every ODS improvement. I'm going to do my best to do a few more. I know that the fire extinguisher, for example, on this side was enlarged because of the side plate, the side armor plates that go on, which the Tamiya kit has. So I will be doing that. I'm got to look at and see if I want to redo the exhaust on this side. The ODS kit from Tamiya comes with this improvement, but I may want to create the parts so that I can take just a M2A2 Tamiya kit and put on that exhaust system improvement over there. We already talked about this improvement right here. There are some ODS that still have this workers platform on the side and some that don't. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to deal with that. I don't even know if a 3D printed part will deal with that best. So something that I'll inform you about as we go on. And the only other improvements that I can think of are things that we need to talk about when I do the turret. So that's where I will sit right now. Call it part 1 of step 9, and I will take a look at that extinguisher part and the exhaust, and I'll talk to you about it in the next video. All right, see you then.